Good morning. We are in Volos, Greece, and we are today with Dr. Robert Govers, who is author advisor on the subject of reputation of places and chairman and president of the International Place Branding Association. Dr. Govers has an extensive experience, and we are very pleased to have the opportunity to have this interview with him. Dr. Govers, good morning, and thank you very much for your time. May I ask you, please, firstly, what is the occasion that you are in Greece, and what is the International Place Branding Association that you chair?
So the International Place Branding Association is a group, basically a membership organization. Membership is free, so it's a group of people globally that study the field of reputations of places, also called place branding. So applying the concept of brand to places, in the sense that places conjure up associations in people's minds. So they function as brands because they have a name and therefore have a certain level of awareness and reputation among foreign audiences. So that's why we apply that concept to places, cities, regions, countries. And there are about roughly 200, 300 experts, academics in various fields, but also consultants, advisors, that study this field, that are active in this field. So we try and bring them together in various ways, and one of the most important ways in which we bring them together is through an annual conference. And this year's conference was hosted by the University of Thessaly, the Department of Planning and Regional Development, specifically as local host Professor Alex Defner, who was kind enough to organize this year's conference and bring us all here. So we've just had 2 days of conference with about 120 delegates from literally every corner of the planet.
That is very interesting. I am sure you had a very successful and productive exchange of thoughts and papers, and we are sure that we will hear more of them from the University of Thessaly. You have mentioned the term place brand and the organization. What is a place brand? What are the recent developments in this field? This being the fourth, fifth year of the association.
Yes. So as I said, because we believe that places have reputations, there's a certain level of awareness among foreign audiences, and that if people are aware, it's linked to certain associations that they might have in their mind, and this is something you can manage. So that conceptually, that's applying the concept of brand to places. Now, the developments that we see is that this idea of quote-unquote place branding, city branding, nation branding, over time has been very much limited in practice and in how people apply it. Places, governments, apply it to their cities, regions and countries, that they see it as logos, slogans and advertising campaigns. And I think the academic field for a very long time has been arguing against that idea. We believe that applying the concept of brand to places should really be about finding purpose and creating a positioning strategy. And there's various ways in implementing that. The most important way would be through seeing the brand as a perspective to policy making, so using it as a strategic guidance, as a sense of purpose for the city, the region and the country. And therefore, it's more about implementing that in policies, in events, in activities, in investment, in projects, and also possibly in communications. But I think we have come to realize in recent years that it's far too much focused on paid advertising, and particularly on logos and slogans. But luckily, we see that now practitioners, policymakers are starting to realize that there's more to it.
Let me ask you, from your experience, would you give us a couple of examples of places, let me say that term, where you have already discussed, applied, or used this concept and its development?
Yeah. So I think everybody knows that there's many places that have done logos, in every country, and we've seen it in the press. But there are also a couple of examples that have actually been successful in creating more awareness and a better reputation for their country or their city by applying the strategic concept. And examples like that are, for instance, the country of Bhutan, that have focused on the concept of happiness, creating the measurement system for measuring gross national happiness, creating a happiness institute, happiness summits, and all of these things are being exported around the world. Another example would be Estonia, where they have focused on the concept of the e-state. They were the first country to write it to the constitution that internet access should be a human right. They then created an e-residency program and data embassies. So again, that's a country that has received a lot of attention in the media because of the things that they have done. And at the city level, I like the example of the city of The Hague, which is focused on being a city of peace and justice. And again, they've created festivals, events, institutions, attracted international organizations to reinforce that positioning.
That is very interesting. Now, if we want to a little bit focus, how do you see the application of the concept of the place brand, more specifically in terms of tourism strategic approach for an area, even up to a country or even a city that is trying to develop its tourism? How would the concept be applied?
So this is often referred to as quote unquote destination branding. Personally, I'm fighting a Don Quixote battle against this concept. I think we should throw it in the bin because when we talk brand, and as I explained, for me, that is most importantly about finding purpose for a place and its strategic direction and a positioning statement, basically answering the question, who are we as a people, where did we come from, what is our mentality, and of course most importantly, how we want to use this identity, the sense of comradeship, the sense of purpose in formulating a strategy on how we want to establish ourselves in the world, engage with the rest of the world, and through doing that create a better reputation for ourselves. So if that is what it's about, it should be applied place as a whole, and it can never be about one industry. And when you talk about quote-unquote destination branding, it implies that we're doing this only from a tourism perspective, which can actually be very dangerous, I think, and we've known the examples of over-tourism, where the tourism reputation of a place has taken over, and basically therefore has created a situation where you have limited control over how the place develops. And also another problem with destination branding is that because of the fact that many see brand as logos and advertising campaigns, we see many places doing mass media advertising, which first of all I think is ineffective and inefficient. I think we're wasting taxpayers' money because we're shooting hail at a specific market. And most importantly, I think it's a problem because you have no control over who you're actually attracting. Because you're doing mass media, we don't know who those people are that will be attracted by these communications and therefore come to our. And of course, we all know the examples of where this is a problem. So, for me, the concept of brand should be applied at the overarching level. It should be about everything, a place as a whole. And by doing that, it should inform tourism strategy. And Bhutan, that I've referred to earlier, is an interesting example, where the national purpose is, happiness, where they're positioning and engaging around the concept of happiness, and that has actually informed their tourism strategy. They thought about what kind of tourism do we want, who do we want to attract, and how can we use tourism more effectively and efficiently for development. And what they've done is they created a system where you have to hire a local tour operator, you have to spend a minimum amount of money per day. Therefore, they are limiting the number of people accessing the country, but they're spending more, and part of that money is directly put into regional development for the country.
I would like to thank you for changing with us all this interesting work and concepts. But I would like to ask you a little bit of a local question. Is this your first time in Greece? And if it is not, what do you see from your experience? What are the memories you have from your previous visits?
I have very fond memories of Greece. As a student, already when in high school with friends, we spent many summers on the islands and in Athens. So I spent quite a bit of time in Athens itself, and then of course Santorini, mostly Paros, but also Naxos and other islands. And I've been back a couple of times also for conferences. And this, of course, this year in Volos is my first time in Volos. And I think it's a wonderful country, and I think one of the challenges for Greece is that what I've seen so far, and everybody knows that there have been many attempts in quote-unquote nation branding for Greece, and I think one of the issues is that it has always been very much focused on tourism, which is understandable because obviously tourism is an important part of the export economy, if you like, of Greece. But I think it should be more than that. And particularly what I would like to see is more of an overarching strategy, which includes more than just tourism, but also less focus in the way it's communicated, less focus on sea, sun, sand. I think Greece, the Greeks as a people, are still very in touch with their heritage and with their identity. So if you look a little bit further than the major resorts, and you visit the fisher villages and the seafronts and you know the local towns where not that many tourists go, you will find authentic experiences and wonderful people, very friendly people, and so I think Greece has more to offer and has more to offer also in terms of engaging on more than just tourism with the rest of the world. So I think you know I would like to see that being conceptually developed in a more deeper and richer place brand for the country.
Dr. Govers, thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate all the information that you shared with us, and we wish you a good trip back, and of course we expect to see you soon again in Greece.